In this episode, we speak with Shirley Santoso, a partner at Kearney, serving as the Asia-Pacific leader for the Leadership Change and Organization practice, co-head for Kearney Asia's Transaction and Transformation practice, and the president-director of Kearney's Indonesian office. Shirley has been with Kearney for over 20 years, with notable achievements that include a turnaround program for a large insurer in Asia, major cost reduction and operational transformations for leading banks in Southeast Asia, strategic portfolio review and transformation blueprint for a leading Southeast Asia conglomerate, and the national sectoral blueprints for Indonesia. She was named by the Consulting Report an awardee for the top 25 women leaders in consulting for 2024. Kearney is a global management consulting firm in more than 40 countries that works with governments, nonprofits, and many of the world's largest corporations. I'm your host, RJ Lumba. We hope you enjoy the show. If you like the episode, click to follow.
RJ Lumba is the executive chairman of Market Insight Media and managing partner of GrowthCap. He is the host of Top Consultant, a podcast featuring today's best consultants who advise and provide services to corporations, governments, nonprofits, and other organizations. Executives and key decision makers tune in to Top Consultant to identify the most knowledgeable and experienced consultants for their most important projects.
Shirley, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us today. It's a delight to be with you.
Thank you so much, RJ, for the opportunity. It's really great to be sitting with you today and sharing some of my experience as well.
You have a wonderful background. You know, you've kind of gone through the ranks upwards of Kearney, which is a fantastic firm, a global firm. It's not easy to do what you've done in this competitive industry. Tell us a little bit about your background and what led to you rising through the ranks within Kearney in the consulting industry.
Thank you for that question. So actually, I joined Kearney now already for 25 years. And I joined since I graduated from Cornell, my MBA, and I joined as an associate. And I remembered when the offer came because it was my wedding day. So obviously, they couldn't find me. You know, at that time, mobile phone was not so common. Then finally, they found me and gave me the offer, which was a very pleasant surprise. So since then I joined in the banking practice for several years, covering whole of Southeast Asia, consulting to banks and financial institutions. Then they asked me to go to Indonesia to build the Indonesian office. And at that time, then I concentrate a lot more on big, large-scale transformation because obviously the country is transforming and a lot of our clients are transforming. And since then, it has been a great ride. And I served in many different capacity in Kearney. I was the head for our transformation and transaction practice in Asia. I also led our leadership change and organization practice in Asia previously. And I also sat at a global management team leadership group. And right now, I'm also leading our Indonesian office as well. So it has been a very rewarding and a great journey so far.
And I can imagine there's a lot of large enterprises throughout Southeast Asia, and you're in the realm of organizational effectiveness. Tell us, what are some of the common areas where you find, you know, some of these companies need help with? I imagine some of them can be very old companies, maybe family businesses that have been around for decades. So what are some areas where you've been able to kind of help these companies?
Yeah, definitely. And I guess the trigger of transformation would differ, but some of the things that you've mentioned, you know, like generation changes in family-owned business, like for example, first generation going to second generation to third generation, where they wanted to professionalize the business, make the system a lot more institutionalized. So we help those kind of transformation. Other areas would be a company, they wanted to improve their margins. So they're looking at, you know, how can they grow their revenue, enter into new market, whether it's like expanding their reach or going to international market, or sometimes they want to improve on their cost position. So, you know, they ask for our help to look and find where are some of the areas that we can help them to improve. But other times we also help as well on the government side, you know, like the public sector. So a lot of the question is, how can we make the public sector a lot more efficient? or in other cases, how can we make a national level strategy, whether it's like digital strategy, logistic strategy, looking at some of the global trends, disruptions that may happen in the industry or in the country that really affect those organizations or at the country level.
Now, Kearney is a very global organization. How does that play into your work with your clients? Meaning, do you have clients, obviously based in Southeast Asia that then want some expertise relevant to countries in North America, countries in Europe, and then vice versa? Do you have colleagues in other countries that then say, hey, Shirley, we have this client, we want to do more, or we have these business lines that go into Southeast Asia. Can you help us?
Definitely. And I think that's the beauty of us being a global firm. And so on one side, you can really look at some of the global best practices, that you can bring to the Southeast Asia countries, whether those could be a certain type of technology or processes that you can apply to your client to make their process a lot more efficient. So for example, a decarbonization is a great example. The topic may be a lot more advanced, say in Europe or in America, but in some other countries, when we are thinking like Indonesia or Malaysia, it's still at the nascent stage. So again, a lot of organizations are looking to decarbonize and ways to do it. On the other side, as you mentioned, there could be also organization from the developed market that see Asia as a growth market. And again, we are seeing, like, for example, Indonesia's economy is growing at 5.2, 5.3%. The Southeast Asia market is seeing, as a very promising market. So again, some of these clients or organizations from, say, the US or Europe are also looking whether they want to enter into the market, or the other way is also to look for areas where they could manufacture a lower cost basis as well.
Now, in your seat, being the president for Indonesia of Kearney's overall firm, how do you decide which areas to kind of pursue in terms of your consulting practice? Is it based on a lot of the feedback you would hear from your clients? These are areas where we need help. In other words, when you look to grow your own practice within Indonesia, what's your strategy? Like, where do you head towards, and how do you know where to invest in people?
Yeah, we would like to be called as transformation partners for our client. So again, whether those are organizations or those are at the country level. But so we want to also be able to shape the journey and the story with our client and also bring that impact. So for us, bringing that impact is a very critical philosophy in how we grow our business. So growing together with our client is a philosophy that we always keep in mind. Because when you do bring that impact, your business will also grow and your people will also feel a lot more fulfilled as well. And that is what we've been able to see. And that is what we would like to be very proud of from our work as well, together with our client.
Mm-hmm. Can you give us a sense for maybe the differentiating factors between Kearney and maybe other consulting firms? Like, why would an enterprise choose to work with your practice versus others that they could choose from?
I think, as I mentioned, our philosophy is really to become that transformation partner that brings impact. And so with that in mind, we really believe in very pragmatic and implementable solution. So we want to make sure that when we do work with our client, we can really execute the strategy as well. So that is one aspect. The second one is we also want to make sure that we bring the best practice that we have to make sure that our solution is also a leading edge to help forward thinking, to help our client to continuously grow. So that is the second one. And the third one, which is very important as well, is we work side by side with our client. So we want to be one team with our client. And we want to make sure that we really embed that capabilities for our client to succeed. I think one of the things that make us really happy and very proud is that when we leave our client, they can still implement the solution and can still get that sustained benefit or results.
Hmm. And is there one kind of pervasive solution that you see companies maybe are lacking, which could really aid them? And this could be, maybe across the region where you typically find Kearney can really help you in this area, and which would either grow your revenues or improve operating efficiency. Is there kind of a common thing that you think companies can benefit from that they're lacking?
One thing that we are seeing right now is, I think, the level of uncertainty with the global economic pressure is definitely very high. So companies will really need to prepare themselves a lot better. And so whether with scenario planning, able to pivot the strategy as you face this disruption. But second, also is in terms of the people as well. The type of leaders that you need to have in the companies right now require a transformational leader. Leaders that are forward thinking, but be able to also engage your employee and engage your stakeholders as well. Right now, we live in an era where information are very fast and very transparent. So it's very important that the leader can also engage the people and the different stakeholders as well. So I think that is definitely the second one. And the third one is, how do you also leverage and maximize the use of the ecosystem surrounding you? You don't have to build everything by yourself, but how can you also partner with your ecosystem, with your suppliers, with your employees, with your other stakeholders to make sure that you can really maximize your potentials? Even like, for example, in terms of technology or digital, that's something that they can also look to partner with, not just build everything from scratch.
Hmm. You touched on leadership, and that's such a big part of how an organization can transform itself. How involved do you get with maybe helping leaders understand how they can change maybe their style and their ability to really galvanize their team or improve their overall team culture? I mean, this could get more into like the personal side of how someone leads. Like, what's the extent to which you kind of consult in that area?
Well, we would like to be side by side, definitely with the leaders. And because we want to make sure that they are also successful in transforming the company. And so we would also be hand in hand, be their coach as well, to make sure that we can also give input in terms of how can they become a better transformational leaders. And so that's one. Second, what we also emphasize to our client, it's very important that you also transform in the middle. So it's not only the top layer that's important, but the middle management is important. We call it transforming from the middle. And again, these are the future of the company. So how can you engage them and empower the middle management so that they too can also be future leaders as well?
Hmm. It's such a difficult thing, especially with maybe hybrid environments. I'm not sure if there is kind of this return to office movement in Southeast Asia as well. It's happening here in the States, but it's presumably easier when you're in person to have a more cohesive culture. Do you have a view on that, or do you do any work in regards to that?
Yeah, I mean, it's a very interesting time, right? I mean, during COVID and post-COVID, right? During COVID, nobody ever thought initially, oh, that you can really do work from home. But, we can do that. But I think after a while, you find that this whole human connection is very important, because only by human connection, you can really foster a stronger bonding. You can get that empathy. You can break the barriers a lot. So I do believe, like me myself personally, that human connection is very important. And especially when you do large scale transformation program, because any change, any transformation program, you go up and down. And, it's a lot easier when you do that in person, when you can see really, the people that you're dealing with, the employee that you need basically to touch, and the reach is very important. And so those elements are very important. Are there areas where you can do work from home? Yes, maybe certain work that are kind of like less critical, but is human connection still important? Absolutely. That is what's interesting when we did the even just post COVID, we also say to companies that there are certain job type or archetypes that you can do it from home. But again, the way you monitor and work from them, it's very important to still have that connection. And, of course, as company now, they are moving more to hybrid or to now full at office, that personal human connection becomes a lot more important.
I'm curious, like someone in your leadership position, how do you spend your time between, I'm sure there's like different elements of strategy work for the firm, for your region, for your country. And then there's also client interfacing work. And then there's also team management. How do you generally manage all of these things? Is there a way you think about dividing up your day so as to ensure all of these things are appropriately taken care of?
Yeah, I mean, it's an art, I would say. You need to make sure that you manage all those different priorities equally. If I start, with the client side, definitely they are very important because, we want to make sure that we are their partner and they can get the benefit from our advice. And I guess what's important for me, and I've been in this business for, more than 25 years, that relationship is not built in one night, it's built over time. So how do you continuously deepen and strengthen that relationship over time, that you do it consistently so it doesn't become a task. So I think that is very important. And in fact, a lot of my clients are clients, that I have since I was an associate when I just entered Kearney. So I think that's one aspect on the external part. And again, some of them were juniors and now they became CEOs or whatnot, right? Equally important is, of course, to take care of our people. And consulting is really a people business. People are really our assets. So how do we make sure that they too are well taken care of, that they also find purpose in what we do? And if you think about the shift now in people's in the workforce, that purpose is very important. So, how do you find joy and passion in what you're really doing, and how do you embed those passion and joy in your staff as well? And the second one is how do you also take care of them? I mean, consulting is not an easy task and sometimes also quite long hours, but how do you continuously motivate them and make sure that you take care of them, that their mental health is also protected as well. So those are definitely the different elements and that we need to take care of, and also make sure that they can reach to you anytime, and that they also feel empowered that they too can become leader and have a very promising future in the firm as well.
Excellent. We're heading into the tail end of the conversation. I have two final questions, but before I ask those, I noticed we share something in common, and we both did our MBA at Cornell. For the benefit of our audience and for the Cornell community out there, can you tell us what you picked up there, what you learned there, how maybe the school helped you?
One thing that I really like about Cornell is that sense of community. You are never feel alone. And that sense of community, being really there for each other, whether those are your friends, or your teacher, your professors, is definitely something that I bring, into my leadership style. How do you really be there for each other? And again, some of my friends now, in Cornell, we are still very close. So even though some of them are in the US, in Japan, in China, we have a small WhatsApp group that we always connect and celebrate milestone and together's achievements. So that sense of community and belonging definitely is something that I really cherish about Cornell. And the second one is, of course, the quality of education. So that also prepared me, and that, I guess, practical aspect as well. I remember there were a lot of case study, practical experiences that, of course, were very useful in my profession as a consultant.
Wonderful. Last two questions. One is, can you tell us about a person who has had a profound influence on you?
One is definitely my parents. My dad, he's now in his 80s and he's a very accomplished angioplasty. So he worked with Stan, unblock the artery. So with heart. So he has a very big influence on me on two things. Since he's young, he always impart values in his children, how you work with purpose, to find that ikigai, so to speak, when you work, because when you have that purpose, work is not really work, work is joy. So for me, that's really giving back and bringing impact. And that is also what I see in him. He's still bringing that impact to his patient, working with joy, with passion, and giving back. And that is really the energy that drives me in my work. So work for me is really fun because every day I got the chance to make an impact and to give back. That's one. And the second one is definitely my mentor, John Kurtz. He mentored me since I joined the firm as an associate until now. So it's really great to have somebody in the firm that can help to navigate your journey, and you can speak about when you have issues, and you can learn and also stand there for you as well. So I've learned a lot definitely from John as well. And in fact, the mentorship that I got from John also inspired me to set up this Ignite, which is a women empowerment community that we started 2 years back. Actually, it started during COVID, then it became formalized 2 years back. We started with 2 mentors, 10 mentees. We started with 2 organizations. Now we have more than 70 organizations joining this women empowerment network. And what we do is we basically have the women CXO mentor the women CXO -2 and -3, and it's cross-industry mentoring. And so it's a very rich platform for these women leaders to learn from the experienced women leader. And, our philosophy is really paid forward. So again, I want to pay it forward from what I got from my mentor to all these women. And I think increasing the number of women leaders is something that is a very important ambition. And through this Ignite, we also collaborated with the stock exchange, with the employer association, with IFC World Bank and many other organizations, so we can scale up and make this into a national movement. So that is what my mentor also inspired me to do, to really pay it forward and give back.
Last question. Can you tell us about a charity, cause, or other endeavor that you're passionate about? And it may have been this Ignite, but if there's anything additional you'd like to mention?
One is definitely Ignite. The second one is I'm very passionate to also help the underprivileged children, and we've been supporting this HIV organization that focus on children. HIV is a very underlooked cause. Like a lot of people, they would give funding into education, to cancer research, but not so much on HIV children. And again, we've been supporting this organization, I think, for 7 years. So we focus more to help the children, to give them life skills so they can be self-sufficient and they can work, and they can also take care of the other HIV kids as well and families. And I think what's important is how do you make this sustained? Similar like Ignite, now we are in our 3rd year with this HIV foundation. We are in our 7th year. So hopefully we can help those children to be self-sustaining as well.
Excellent. Well, Shirley, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us today. It's been a wonderful conversation.
Thank you so much, RJ.